everyone. With this quick video, we're going to provide you a demo of how to utilize Surgent CPA Review. Now, the first thing that you'll see when you log in is this welcome screen. After you come here, you'll click the next button to get started, and then you'll choose your study style. Now, we recommend utilizing our adaptive technology, which is called A.S.A.P technology. That is the most efficient and effective way to prepare for your exam. However, we understand that everyone has a different learning style. And so if you choose to go with more of a structured linear format, you do have the ability to choose that as well. And so you can just make your selection here, whichever path you choose. I will let you know that I recommend utilizing the adaptive technology first, because you can always go and use the linear later. But sometimes if you miss that initial step of using the adaptive, then it's more difficult to go back if you haven't completed the assessment and things like that. So this is what I would recommend that you select, but you do have this option here. After that, you'll click next. And then you'll choose your question difficulty level. So we start everyone at the moderate difficulty level, which, by the way, is the same difficulty level that you'll start with Testlet 1 of your multiple choice exam. And then if you want to go a little bit harder, you can do that. If you want to make your questions a little bit easier, you can do that. But my recommendation for most people is to stick with the moderate difficulty level. Then you'll click next. And after that, you'll set up your exam date. So even if you don't know your exact exam date, just try to pick something that is in the quarter that you think that you'll be selecting, or you'll be taking your exam rather. One of the reasons this is important is because our system is going to tailor your course to make sure that you're ready to pass your exam by your exam date. So what we're going to do here is I'm just going to go ahead and select March 31st of 2022. And then I'll click next. Then it asks me, well, how many days per week are you available to study? This is a very critical step, because when you are preparing for the CPA exam, you need to identify which days you're going to be studying. Otherwise, it's very easy to get off track and not study as much as you should. I typically recommend studying somewhere between 4 to 5 days a week, maybe even up to 6. I don't recommend doing 7 days a week. Typically, you'll get burnout and you need to make sure you save some time to mentally recharge. So here, based on my schedule, I'm saying that I can study Tuesday and then Thursday through Sunday. Then I'll click next. And now this shows me the 4 different phases of our review course. The first thing that you're going to do is start with your assessment, and that will establish your initial ReadySCORE. Now, the ReadySCORE is a projection of what score you would receive if you were to sit for that section of the CPA exam today. So you'll do that. Then you'll go to the study phase. This is where you are going to be improving your ReadySCORE and basically going through the content, watching videos, reading references from the textbook, doing your practice questions, and really getting your scores up as high as you can. After you do that, we're going to then bump you up to the simulation level. And so one of the reasons we do that is because you really need to get a firm foundation of understanding the multiple choice questions before you move into those more complex simulations. Otherwise, if you go straight into the sims, you're unlikely to have the base level of knowledge to be able to get those questions correct. And so that's why we start with the multiple choice first, then move into the simulation phase. And then once you master that, then you're just practicing. You're doing your practice exams. You're keeping all the content fresh until your exam date, just to make sure you don't forget anything. So those are the 4 main phases of our review course. Then you'll click Let's Go, and you will start on your exam. So when I say exam, I'm referring to your assessment. Now, the assessment has 350 questions, as you can see here. You don't necessarily need to complete all 350 in one sitting. You can maybe take the first week or so and divide them up across that first 7 days that you're in the system. But you'll complete those 350 questions and you'll just click the start button to get going there. And then you'll notice when you scroll down here, we have all of the categories or from the A.S.A.P exam blueprint for this section listed, but they're locked because you haven't completed the assessment just yet. And so once you finish the assessment, these will be unlocked and you will be able to access your data. So the next thing that I'll show you is kind of what it looks like once you finish your assessment. So here in this account, what you can see is that the ReadySCORE is listed here. Now, notice there are 2 separate ReadySCOREs. Why is that? Well, when I hover over it, you can see that we give you a multiple choice question ready score, which here is a 20, and a simulation ready score, which is a 12. The reason that's so important is that many users, when they're studying, only want to focus on the multiple choice questions. But if you do that, you're unlikely to get the score that you desire on the exam, because on FAR, audit, and reg, 50% of your score comes from multiple choice, 50% comes from simulations. And even on BEC, 50% comes from multiple choice, and 35% comes from simulations, and then 15% comes from written communication, which is kind of like an essay question. But the bottom line is, it's very important to excel in both of these categories. And so what we want you to do is get an 80 or higher for your ready score in each of these areas. Eventually they will merge into a single ready score, but starting out, we want you to get an 80 for your multiple choice score and an 80 for your simulation score. Now, you only need a 75 to pass the CPA exam. So why are we saying get an 80 in our system? Well, what we do with our ReadySCORE is stay in touch with users and find out what score did you actually get when you took the exam. And based on that analysis, we know that the ReadySCORE is accurate to within just a few points of your actual exam score. And so what we're doing is saying, okay, if you get an 80 in our system, then even if that ReadySCORE is slightly off by a point or two, you still have a really high likelihood of getting a 75 or above. And that's what we want you to do, is be able to pass that exam. Now, if you look down here, you see that schedule, that study schedule we created earlier, and then you see here's an exam date. Here it says December 31st is the exam date for this user. Now, what our platform will tell you is how much time you should study each day. So we are recommending that this user study 44 minutes per day, each of these 5 days per week that they're studying leading up to December 31st. And if they do that, we're projecting that they will have that 80 ready score that we're telling them that they need to get in our system. So that's kind of an explanation of how the dashboard works. Now, there are two primary ways that you can study in the system. One is by using this structured method here, where you're just going category by category based on the AI-CPA exam blueprints. The other method is to go up here in your daily surge. So when we're trying to figure out what to do with our 44 minutes here, we're going to say, okay, I want to start here, and our recommended method would be the daily surge. And so you would come here and say, let's do a study session. And so I'm just going to go ahead and click in here. But before I do want to explain that with the study session, the videos that are recommended for you to watch, and the reading materials, all of these are personalized to you. And so the videos and practice questions we're recommending that you complete may be completely different than the videos that the system is recommending that I complete, because it's based on how you're performing and what your strengths and weaknesses are. That's the purpose of the ReadySCORE. If you already know that 2 + 2 is 4, we don't need you to watch a 30-minute video on simple addition. We want to move you on to some of the more complex topics that are actually going to help you pass the exam. And so that's what this is focused on. So when you do your study session, I'm going to show you why this is the primary box you would want to use. In addition to watching videos and reading materials here, we built this into the study session as well. So I'll go ahead and click here to start a study session. And now I see my question. I'm going to select an answer, and then I'll go down here and click submit. And so I can see that my answer was incorrect. It's marked here in red. The correct answer is highlighted in green. And then over here, we get an explanation of what the correct answer is, as well as some helpful links and resources to say, if you missed this question, perhaps you need to understand more about what an engagement is. So let's click on that, and we can quickly get that definition of the engagement. Or this type of auditor here, we can get that definition. Or maybe we want to review something from the textbook. And so if we do that, we can see that here from the textbook. The other thing that we can do is watch videos. So maybe we need to look at this video about firm policies and procedures in order to better understand this concept. So let's go ahead and click on that video. and it will take us to the video platform. Now, you'll notice that we have both the PowerPoint as well as the person delivering the lecture. We also have a transcript of what the person is saying here, and whatever they're saying in the moment is going to be highlighted in blue. You can also search for terms. So if there's a particular part of the video you're looking for, a certain topic that you want to see if it's covered, go ahead and use the search feature, and that can be helpful to you. You can also take notes here as well. And then I'm going to show you a feature that a lot of people really like. So you are welcome to take your own notes. However, if you click this paperclip icon right here, then it's going to pull up two attachments. One of them is a PDF of the PowerPoint slides. The other one that says VLN, well, that stands for video lecture notes. And so if you open that, then it is going to pull up the pre-populated notes that we have created for you. So you see here, this is a recap of everything that is included in the video. We also include some practice questions for you. And then on the last page, you will have answers to those practice questions listed in bold there. So this is available for every video in our system. So that's something that can be really helpful to you. So when we come back here, and I'm going to go ahead and just exit this video. Now we're back in our question format. I want to show you one other thing. I'm going to go to the next question. And let's say I read this question, but honestly, I'm not super sure what the answer is. Now, let's say I'm 70% sure, I may go ahead and select my answer and then click submit. But what if I read this question and I say, I don't remember covering this in class. I don't remember covering this on my job. I just have to make a guess though to move on to the next question. And so I'm just going to select fee was a competitive bid, but I really don't know. If you feel that way and you're just making a wild guess, go ahead and mark it as guessed, and I'll show you what that's going to do. So here, what you'll notice is that it's marked incorrect, but even if I had gotten this question correct, it still would have noted that I need to, the system would have treated it as though it was incorrect. And the reason for that is we still want to make sure that we are guiding you towards being able to study the information that you need to improve on. And so mark it as guessed, because we don't want to trick the system into thinking we know things that we really don't. So that's one thing to be aware of as well. That can be really helpful using that mark as guessed feature. Now I'm going to go ahead and exit this session. And now I'm going to show you the structured method of studying. And I'll tell you, one of the pros and cons that people like and don't like about using the Daily Surge is that when you use the Daily Surge for these questions, it's not going to give you all of the questions in one category at a time. So it's not going to give you 20 questions on ethics. It's going to bounce you around from category to category. So why do we do that? Well, that's the way it is on the exam. On the actual exam, it's going to bounce you around from category to category. And so our process is designed to train your brain to be able to make those transitions. Now, we understand that some people, though, may prefer to start off by just studying category by category and then coming and kind of bouncing around. So if you want to do that, you do have that flexibility in our system. It just may take you a little bit longer if you use the structured method of studying as opposed to utilizing the Daily Surge, because again, this is giving you questions, videos, and reference materials from the textbook that are tailored to what our system knows that you need to review. However, if you do want to start off using the structured method, I'll show you how that works as well. Now, these categories down here, and we're in the audit section, by the way, of our review course, but these sections down here basically cover the A.S.A.P exam blueprints. They align with each of those topics that are covered. And what you have here is an individual ReadySCORE for each section of the exam. And so what we want to do is get these up to an 80 as well. You want 80s for all of your ReadySCOREs. Now, you can do this in a couple of different ways. One, you can click this button to do study questions, and you can select the number of questions that you want to do or the number of simulations when you get to that point. Or and in addition to that, you can also choose your study method. I recommend the adaptive method, but if you only want to see new questions, you can select that. If you only want to see questions that you missed last time, you can use options like that. So we give you some variety of choice here, but the typical recommendation will be to utilize the adaptive method. then you click begin session, and it launches your study session where you're doing the practice questions again. And so that's one way that you can do it. You can also watch videos that cover this general category, but sometimes this may be a large category and you say, well, I want to get a little bit more detailed. So to do that, just click anywhere in this box and you'll notice that it drills down. And so here you see that category 1 drills down into 1A all the way through 1F. And so that is something that you can see those individual ready scores for your subcategories. And this gives you some insight, because if you look here and say, well, I have a 23 and I want to get that score up, maybe I need to look in 1E where I currently have a 15. And let's say I need to watch a video specifically on communication with management and those charged with governance. And then after I watch that video, I'm going to come right back and click this pencil icon to do some practice questions. So that's something that can be helpful to you as well. One thing to note is that I showed you these subcategories. So right now I'm in category 2 and we have 2A all the way through 2H, but some of them will drill down even further if there are a lot of questions in there. So for example, when we look at 2C, you'll see that we have 277 questions on that topic. So if I click in this box, this one drills down even further to 2C1 through 2C4. So you can get very specific and detailed with the exact content that you want to study in our system. One thing to note is you see this last study date. This says 28 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. One of the things that's going to be important is that if you use this structured method, you make sure that you don't have any long periods of time that you haven't studied the content when you get to your exam date. So you'll want to make sure that you are continuing to go through these categories and do all of these questions just to make sure all of the content stays fresh on your mind. Now, a couple of other things I'll show you after you complete your study sessions or your study phase rather, you may want to take a practice exam. We typically recommend that users complete at least 1 or 2 practice exams in our system before you sit for the real exam. And so you'll see that this mimics the screen that you'll see at Prometric. You'll have your 4-hour time limit and your 5 testlets. And so you can click Start Exam to access the practice exam. But again, I recommend doing at least 1 or 2 of those before you take the real exam. Now, if you come down here to the simulations, you'll notice that the light gray boxes are simulations that have not yet been attempted. And then the navy blue boxes are simulations that have been attempted, but you didn't get the correct answer. And then this teal color, that means it's a simulation that you did attempt and you got the correct answer. And so that is how you would utilize the simulation feature. Now, I'm going to show you a couple of other things. Now, if you come up here to these icons up here, this document icon, if you click that, this is where you can access the course intro video, the glossary, take a look at the textbook, access to our podcast to get the audio lectures and things like that, take notes, and see some of the A.S.A.P release questions. You can do all of that through this button here. If you click on this button, it looks like a person reading a book. You can access your diagnostic report. And this is a snapshot in time that shows you when you took your exam, or your assessment, you started with a 24, and then it gives you an estimate of how much time you have remaining to study, as well as your best categories, your worst categories. And so that gives you some insight as to how you're performing there. You can also click this same icon to view your session results log. What that is going to show you is a recap of all of your previous study sessions. And so you'll be able to see, let's say you were studying a few days ago and you wanted to go back and review something from there, then you can just go up here, click this icon, click session results log, and then it will pull up. You can say, okay, on July 21st, I was in the system studying. I did 5 questions. I got 1 correct and I missed 4. I don't remember what 4 questions I missed. So let's go ahead and click view here. Okay, so now we can see the problem questions. These are the ones that I missed. And so if I can either review them by clicking the individual ones, or I can click review all. So if I click review all, then I can see I missed this question. Again, it goes back to that answer screen. I can do next question and go to the next question that I missed as well. And again, just kind of go back and see, okay, now I want to go back and watch some of those videos or look at some of those glossary terms, things like that. That can be really helpful to you. So I'll go ahead and return to the results here, go back to your dashboard. We also have gamification in our system. So if you click this star icon, then what you'll be able to see is that you can actually get points and badges for various accomplishments that you have within the system. And so that includes things like watching your video or completing your practice exams or setting your date for your exam, different things like that. You'll get points and badges for all of those things. So that's something that can be helpful to you as well. And then that pretty much concludes what I want to show you with this demo. But if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. If you click this question mark button and go to help, then you'll notice that for technical questions, you can email info@surgentcpareview.com. If you have a content specific question saying, I don't really understand this concept or why is this the right answer, you can email editorial@surgent.com and we will certainly be glad to help. So I hope you all found this helpful and we wish you the best of luck as you are studying with Surgent CPA Review.